Kremlin this morning has accused Estonia of falsely claiming Russian military jets violated its airspace. On Friday, the NATO member said 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets entered its airspace without permission and stayed for a total of 12 minutes. The incident marks just the latest encroachments by Russian forces into NATO territory after Poland and Romania say Russian drones entered their airspace. Estonia is now seeking consultation with other NATO members. Mark Cancian is a senior advisor at CSIS, the Center for Strategic and International Studies. He's also a retired Marine colonel and can help us understand what this all means. Good morning, Colonel. So why do you think we're seeing these recent probes by Russian forces into NATO territory? Is this some type of test?
It almost certainly is. Any one of these incidents might have been an accident, but the 3 of them together indicate pre-planning that this is intentional. There is discussion about why Russia is doing that. There are 2 possible reasons. One is to test NATO's air defenses to see how these air defenses react. And the other is to test its political determination to see whether NATO and Europe respond in any strong way or whether they allow these to continue.
So if NATO is being tested, how can it pass the test? How should the bloc respond?
Well, it has responded with increased air activity in the east. They've moved some aircraft into Eastern Europe. They've also begun an effort to develop low-cost anti-drone systems. This has been a problem for some time. It's a huge problem in Ukraine. These drones cost maybe $10,000, $20,000. The cheapest air-to-air missile is $600,000. So you have to find some alternative way of bringing these down. The Europeans are doing that. There have been suggestions that if there's another intrusion by aircraft, that NATO shoot it down. That would be a very dramatic step. But the Turks did that some years ago when the Russians were intruding on their airspace in Syria. The Turks shot down a Russian aircraft. The Russians were very angry, but in the end stopped their intrusions.
And there's also concern among NATO members that if one of them were to trigger Article 5, that's an attack on one is an attack on all, that the U.S. potentially wouldn't come to the bloc's aid. We just saw Donald Trump with a state visit in the U.K. last week where he bragged about getting NATO members to increase the percentage of their GDP they put toward defense. But is that a founded concern that the U.S. might not back NATO up against Russia?
Well, the Europeans are very concerned about that. We're quite a ways from an Article 5. Poland did invoke Article 4, which requires consultations, that does not consider this an attack on Poland. But there's no question that the Trump administration has made the Europeans nervous about whether the United States would come to their aid in an emergency.
All right, Colonel Mark Cancian, great to have you with us this morning. Thanks for being with us.